Alright, what's up yins guys? Time for another video. In this video I'm going to talk about the extreme left and the extreme right the way I see it, and kind of compare it how some of it is similar to, but maybe a little bit different. Maybe some ways you're not thinking of when you see videos about the extreme left and the extreme right. And how I'll use a regressive liberal or regressive conservative, and how if you're different sides, maybe some of you don't care for either, and one of you try to hide in the one to get the fuck away from the other, and you end up under another rules what's expected of you, how you're supposed to be a sheep, and how you got, for example, you're required to regress as to not offend the alpha or the hierarchy. People, somebody that's the hierarchy, always the smart one, the strong, and or else they get their strong men, or whether it's intellectual strong men that are like, however the hell they dress, whether it's one side, it's their suits, they have big bellies and suits, or fancier suits they cover up themselves up with, or the other side, like the drug culture that's out there, and a couple of different people, the way they're exposed, their act, dress. I want to talk about, you get both sides have the childlike dress culture, if it isn't like the dressed up thing, where whether you got the street, the drug culture, you got the ones, the childlike t-shirts and shorts, sometimes shorts like past the knee, and between their shoes and their socks and their leg, they got this much leg showing. In some cases, their stature, like this leg that looks like a couple of sticks, and some of them, look like they're dressing this way. They're trying to look bigger, or you get the religious ones, that the childlike, their t-shirts and shorts. They're these sometimes shorts with the pockets in them, cargo pants, and that perfectly fitting t-shirt. Usually, some of them I see maybe a yellow t-shirt, just fitting just right with. They're proudly walking around with these skinny arms and these little sleeves, and skinny necks, and they reserve a right to talk down to you, but they're required to cringe to the shepherd or the hierarchy, so to speak, but then yet reserve the right under this hierarchy to talk down to you. And you'll have, and especially if on the religious side, you want to talk about the religious side, unlike the accused of being militant, like Christian conservative culture, where the NRA, some of them may be athletic Christians with a little bit of muscle development. They might wear some t-shirt shorts, they're athletic, and some may be blonde hair, blue eye, got a little bit more built than me, you know what I mean? Or then you get the regressive conservative type that's expected to be a real pacifist, don't piss off the hierarchy, and almost wants to be too nice to the that they might as well be nice to the street drug hierarchy, and might as well be saying, please don't hurt me, God is above me. Be nice to them. They're hurting, and they got double standards for them and you, and when you're new in there, and some of them might be wearing, short sleeve collared dress shirts and skinny arms, and no different than a cult, where they talk about, they encourage a lot of like fasting and praying for longer times, but if you have other health problems, they don't want to see you die by accident. But some of them might be chubby, big bellies, and the fasting works for them to a point, but after the fasting, they get weaker, and they're walking around more after they bust their ass at the job. But the important thing is they're nice and submissive. Take an equality extremism, the ones that are the skinny ones, short sleeves and nerdy shirts, and they go on the fast. And the important thing is it's created by the hierarchy. You meditate on what they want you to meditate while you're fasting, and praying And then when you're physically less strong too in any kind of a way, and then you walk less proudly, you're more susceptible and in fear of some, maybe the preacher with the big belly and the suits, nicer suits that maybe they don't have. How many of them are fasting as much as you are, and then they're like, you're more susceptible and cringe to the steel voice that they're preaching. And then you get the extreme other side, the hierarchy. Look at the, in some drug culture. I mean, not against a few of you guys that I'm not going to say, you smoke a little joint once in a while. I want to take away your marijuana. No, there's a point in the extreme drug culture that some of the people I knew smoked a little pot, drink once in a while. They know this in certain parties not go to. You got these places, for example, some places in landscaping that I worked briefly or tried to work in. Or if you passed by in some of these places that you're not working at, driving by in your car, you see some of them. Unlike other people that are working a certain occupation, you get the ones they're all, their first priority is they're drinking their cigarettes and pot, maybe heroin. You can tell by their body types. They always have their shirts off and they're sporting their bony chest and skinny arms, but then they have sometimes more facial hair than I do. Not wrong with facial hair, but sometimes the hair will be long and scraggly, or sometimes short and scraggly, but unshaven. But to make up for it, the bony chest and the real skinny arms, you see them there in numbers, and they either sit somewhere in break or walking around. To compensate for the bony chest and the skinny arms, sometimes someone will sport a whole bunch of tattoos, sometimes cheap tattoos, or to look more scarily, more facial hair to look scary, and think that makes up for the bony chest and skinny arms. And sometimes you might have some in the workplace and factory around there. They're wearing a uniform shirt, the uniform shirt. Some of the older ones goes out and drinks and always extra beard and smoke. Skinny arms and t-shirt, shorts, and they're giving you some orders with this manly voice. Maybe they were working at the place longer than you, and they can be older than you too. The old man, regressive, and there's always a talk tough, but then there's some strong men that, whether it provides them the occasional weed or pills that they do outside of there, that's the hierarchy, that's you may not want to meet up with, that they might talk to you a little bit somewhere along the line, or be friendly with you, friendly innuendo, telling you how it is, especially if these people kind of get annoyed with you or whatever, or they think you're being smart or being too. But anyway, you'll get the older guy, with the bigger beard, mustache, as talking to you this kind of a way, like make your voice more manly. And it's a very strange thing that we never talk about in some of our workplaces, how it is. There's they do with the body language, there's like a hierarchy that you're supposed to read between the lines about. I mean, not totally declared, and you sarcastically get in arguments with certain things in certain circumstances. Say, ask them. You sarcastically want to ask them, you've got a Bible or a manifesto, which moral platform of my behavior are you confronting me with your shit? By whose authority, or what daddy? I mean, some of them, it's not a religious daddy. There's this. That's why I have this saying. I'll even say that in blogs. I mean, the ones that if I'm talking about there's like a fanatic religious humbleness that gets blown out of proportion and gets intellectually dishonestly misused, and it'll be encouraging a lot of fasting. But unlike the drug culture and reverse moralist valuist system out there in drug culture, instead of fasting, you get the skinnier, deteriorate like body or whatever, and the stronger men, people with maybe bigger arms and tattoos and take a little steroids that maybe provide with the pills. Instead of the religious humbleness there's this secular rules of humbleness. Say if you were even in that drug culture, you're supposed to be obedient to. You're only allowed, certain innuendos about you're only allowed to be so smart. There's always the one that's the smart one. And if you're even in conversation by accident, whether you're in a church or a group that's religious, or if you're in that other culture, you could get politely chastised sometimes for you think you're being smart. But in each culture, the punishment or to discourage you from being smart could vary. You could either be excommunicated or ignored some kind of way. You think they'd say you're going to go to hell, or maybe they'll politely take you aside and like say in a certain religious group, especially if you're a kid dragged to church in a certain kind of place. But then outside there, you go to the wrong bar, or you're in certain warehouses that these certain people are. There's an indication if it gets too out of hand, just for being too smart or walking around the wrong way, and you're not buying enough of drugs like everybody. You're not with the program like everybody else here. The secular humbleness, the rhetoric out, you can be told you're, who the hell did he think he is? I'll kick his ass. Walking around too much like a badass, or if you look like you're displaying any kind of amount of strength or whatever, too. Everybody else they've got these. There's the religious, if you went in the sheep fasting and cringing to everybody, and then there's the secular humbleness that can turns into borderline, a little bit at a time, narco-communism, where they're starting to want to legalize more drugs now, and all it will be is an extension of if you're not into the fanatic religious culture or secular humanist moralist culture, you rebel and be the opposite culture, which there's a required humbleness that being smart is not good, and being too strong isn't good, and it's offensive to the hierarchy, and like the sheep have to cringe to the daddy or whatever, or the shepherd, and they indicate there's nowhere else to go. But there's always got to be, each side might say you're too smart or walk around too proud or too strong or anything. There's the threat of not having any friends, and possibly be declared maybe even some kind of political dissident or probably violent or whatever. But then there's the other, and then the part about being a pacifist is in here too. If you pay attention in like certain kinds of like religion, unlike the types of religion that are accused of being too militant, even if you're just a good person, a basic right to own a gun and be a little bit smart and strong, you could be accused of being these extreme militants. But then there's the religious pacifist. It not only indicates that you should be submissive to the fat preacher with the suit and be submissive to government, just submit to everything they say. They practically, there's a type of pacifism inside this other culture, this regressive conservative culture, where such a pacifist, where you're being nice to and submit to the drug culture out there. Don't hurt me. Instead of charity, it can lead to and be laced with, instead of charity giving somebody that's homeless that might be using the money to buy beer or drugs or cigarettes, it turns into giving the drug culture a bunch of unlike somebody that smokes a joint once in a while or drinks, giving these hoodlums, turn into fucking protection money, and they fucking know it. And literally, you can have a bunch of pacifists there. But then, if you're in that culture, that it's evolved from. If you got this far in this video, make references to the old '60s hippie culture. The hippie culture got eroded. There's a neo-hippie culture around there. Not offense to everybody that's somewhat hippie, and people. I'm kind of have some hippie ideas too, but nobody likes my hippie ideas. But yet, it turned into now, instead of Led Zeppelin and a little bit of Bob Marley or whatever, peaceful culture. There's a thing about being a pacifist out there. Oh, and being a vegan and not eating meat or whatever. But yet, where they get their drugs from. There's a pacifism now. They talk about being nonviolent, right? This is the kicker here. I should have made it before some of you guys just turned this video off and didn't get this far. What gets me about this new pacifist culture that's like a hippie-ish and talks about being not eating meat and being a pacifist, right? And peace. You get these people out there, both male and female, call everybody else violent and being peaceful, but yet the people they buy, they're either marijuana or drugs for, and heroin is okay. They also preach just like the regressive liberal preaches the same thing a regressive conservative is. Oh, they're just hurting. You know, they're taking all the drugs like crack, meth, and heroin. Oh, these people are just hurting. And they believe in nonviolence, right? But yet the people that sell them their drugs and all that, when you try to point out, well, geez, those people are pretty violent people. They got to tell you that what they could do to people if you piss them off. Big tattoos and take these steroids and drive around, you know, they smoke like a chimney and beer behind a wheel and rap music real loud. Not talking about color, the ones that are, you know, even white, you know, the tattoos, different things. Oh, those, you know, you'd think they wouldn't want to associate with any of those. They got different rules for them. Oh, but they're the ones that provide them their drugs. They get real mad or just cut you right off the pass when you talk about them. There's an indication you gotta be quiet. You're judging people, even if you're not. Don't admit to what you think. They figure it out about you right away when you kind of snub them or whatever. So today's slightly neo-hippie pacifist drug user culture is all about submission. That you're not violent. You don't eat. Oh yeah. That's what I want to point out too. What do some of these people think too? The ones that the steroids and they got, you know, big tattoos and sell them all their drugs or whatever, and they're, you know, loud, obnoxious. You know, I'm painting a cartoon picture, not any particular color. A little bit of everybody, you know what I mean? But they go on probably eat pizzas with meat on it. What do these people that sell them drugs eat? They're not attacking them for eating meat or whatever. Man, they go out there when they're making money selling the drugs that they sell to them. What are they buying with it? They're going in a restaurant somewhere, maybe wear gold chains, wear this and that, and nicer cars, and eating themselves a nice steak. Oh, but no, that's okay. But they're picking and choosing who they want to judge as violent too. You know what I mean? Because there's an innuendo about being obedient to this other it's like a subculture that's already there, but the starting of legalizing at least marijuana without all the drugs in the culture, with having legalized marijuana, right? Is they're letting be an extension of a certain culture there that on the streets, which really is sometimes, if not outright, under the table violent culture, which all of us, they're just giving opportunities for some of these people to just, you know, be a little legal now. And instead of a street thuggery culture, you're getting in a legit culture, and now they're going to be the voters. They're going to be legitimate business people, which you're required to have a secular humbleness. And then if you join the regressive conservative side, you're an enemy of their culture. It's just like a totally what do you call it? Contradicts itself and totally hypocrites. You know, it's just making excuses for what they really are. People to see for who they really are. So, like, if you're not either of these culture, and I said talking about if you're not either of these culture, there should be like a right to conscientiously object something that's getting legitimized. The whole population is into it. Somebody's making a lot of money in our governments now. that are regulating it and all that, and want you to buy a lot of a thing now. And they'll even subsidize the people that are wink wink sick, expand the meaning of being sick. Then if you don't need any of it, if you're not even one of them religious fanatics on this side, or if you're not on this side, if you don't do any of their shit or subscribe to any of their shit, you walk too proudly. You're just anything that happens to you physically or financially, you're not with the program. You brought it on yourself because you're just you're too selfish. You're too cocky, arrogant. Both of these cultures have these like rules that if you don't act their way, and some people will go to the religious side to escape because they fear the narcotic culture side. But there's the narcotic culture side that some people, like I know, I have friends do. They smoke a joint here and there, take pills, and they drink. And you hope that they don't get into worse shit. Some of you guys know people that maybe dabble in other shit. You like them a little bit. Oh, please don't get like how my cousin fucked his life up. You'd rather them not cross the line over the marijuana. You hope they don't. But you got nicer people out there too. But what the hell do you do? Yeah, but anyway, you go into the extremely regressive conservative sheep side because you fear to escape. You want your safe space away from that side, but you got to go by their rules and regress. You're not allowed to be any smarter or stronger. But if you're on this religious side, a little bit of right to bear, own a gun, and then do some things physical. Someone out there might call you some kind of, militant, but yet the other side, the narcotics culture, somewhere along the line, you can get shot or beat up or whatever. If you're supposed to stay a sheep and be a doer of the drugs, just physically and mentally and everything, submissive, and yet, that violent culture isn't militant or terrorist, is it? That's fucking ruining other countries and everything else. Now, is it, huh?